गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल आवर व्यूअर्स। मैं अपर्णा गुरुशाला टीम की तरफ से आप सभी का आज के पैनल डिस्कशन में स्वागत करती हूँ। आज की चर्चा का विषय है भारतीय स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन यानी रिविजिटिंग इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट। आगे बढ़ने से पहले मैं हमारे साथियों को बताना चाहूंगी कि गुरुशाला प्रोग्राम इज एन इनिशिएटिव ऑफ इंडस स्टार्स लिमिटेड एंड वोडाफोन इंडिया फाउंडेशन। इट इज इम्प्लीमेंटेड बाय प्रथम एजुकेशन फाउंडेशन। आज हम सब यहाँ एकत्रित हुए हैं एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर चर्चा करने के लिए। इन द लाइट ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस डे हमारे आज का जो पैनल डिस्कशन है, इट विल टॉक अबाउट द डिफरेंट एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, how our society is evolving, and so is everything else along with it. Also, the kind of importance Independence Day holds in our lives. तो चलिए मिलते हैं हमारे आज के पैनलिस्ट को। सबसे पहले हैं मिस शिल्पा सिन्हा, who is a YouTuber and has a channel named Constructing Minds. Our second panelist is Miss Priyadarshini Das, who is an IB diploma program history facilitator in Candor International School, Bangalore, and Shruti Sinha, who is an advocacy head in Netri Foundation. I welcome all three of you for today's Gurushala panel discussion, and I hope that today's discussion will be very fruitful for our viewers. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you so
So,
much.
uh, so to start our today's panel, when we go back to our school days and try to think of what we learned in our history classes, for me personally, I can't recall anything about Indian history. मुझे सब कुछ याद नहीं रहता कि इंडियन हिस्ट्री में ऐसा क्या क्या हुआ है। मे बी कुछ एलिमेंट्स हैं जो रह गए होंगे। तो इंडियन हिस्ट्री में बहुत सारे इवेंट्स हैं जो पढ़ाए नहीं जाते हैं, जो बताए नहीं जाते हैं। देर आर ऑलवेज की हाईलाइट्स दैट हैव बीन मार्क्ड। सो डू यू थिंक ये जो की हाईलाइट्स हैं जो एक्चुअली पढ़ाए जाते हैं, ये ओवर करते हैं दूसरे एलिमेंट्स को? फॉर एग्जाम्पल द होल जर्नी ऑफ फ्रीडम फाइटर्स, उनके बारे में बहुत कुछ नहीं बताया गया है जो हमें जानना चाहिए। तो आपके क्या ख्याल हैं इसमें? आई वुड लाइक टू स्टार्ट विद शिल्पा मैम फर्स्ट।
I think here definitely you come to a very significant point here that when we talk about the key events which are related to the Indian national movement, we tend to focus on the big movements like the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and Quit India movement. And the moment we think about the Indian national movement, somewhere we get to think of big leaders like Gandhiji. We think of big revolutionaries like Subhash Chandra Bose. We tend to think about Bhagat Singh. But that is where I feel that we are moving towards the concept of heroism in that case, and that's where the problem is. The moment we talk about Indian national movement as a big event which is linked to the big leaders, then somewhere we are conveying to the children that any big change or any big revolution is possible when there is a big leader. What is missing, somewhere I feel, is the role of the commoners, the role of the common people. How children, how students, how women, how teachers, all of them were very much part of the Indian national movement. So that is somewhere has to be dealt with. And we can't be just focusing on the big key highlights of the Indian national movements always. And on the other hand, I would like to mention with a very specific example here. There is a chapter in class 10 which talks about nationalism in India. And I was very amazed and I felt really nice when I was teaching that particular chapter in class 10 to my students. That chapter is nowhere only highlighting the role of Gandhiji. The chapter doesn't talk about the big people only, and it very much talks about how the Indian national movement was taken up by the forest dwellers. It was taken up by the village people. It was taken up by the poor people of India. It linked the movement with women, it linked the movement with teachers, lawyers. And so at the same time, on one hand, yes, we tend to focus on the key events, but on the other hand, yes, the change is visible, which is very much there in the NCRT books. So that change is good, but it should be taken up further.
सॉरी, नेक्स्ट मैं प्रियोदर्शिनी मैम से पूछना चाहूँगी कि उनके क्या ख़्याल हैं इस क्वेश्चन पर?
Hi everybody. I completely agree with what Shrupa said. There's a famous saying that did the leader make the movement or the movement made the leader? So Gandhi wouldn't have been Gandhi if the masses did not join him. Of course, our leaders have played an immense role in motivating the masses, be it the young students, bringing out women from their domestic roles into the freedom struggle. But the Indian freedom movement is very much a mass movement, which has a very broad base. It was not just about famous leaders who led. It was about the people who were convinced about the vision of such leaders. I mean, Gandhiji believed in non-violence, and the moment people went away from that path, history students, people who like history would know about the Chauri Chaura incident during the non-cooperation movement. When the common masses went, they drifted away from the path of non-violence. Gandhi called off the movement, and a lot of people were agitated. They were angry, but they were, people were yet to understand the full meaning of a non-violent movement. And the masses, they embraced Gandhiji's vision, and the movement went on, in other forms and shapes. So yes, leaders are important, and there are key highlights when we talk about our textbooks. But we have to understand that what we have in a textbook is supposed to be covered in the span of 1 or 2 years. But if we look at our freedom struggle, even if we consider it from the 1900s, it's half a century. I mean, how can you really bring in the history of half a century into a year or two's curriculum? It's not possible. So the key highlights are very much watershed moments in India's freedom struggle, and therefore they deserve that highlight. And therefore, as an educator, what I encourage is for students to go ahead and do their own research so that they focus on regional history, they focus on local history, and they focus on people that have contributed to the Indian freedom struggle.
Shruti ma'am, what do you think about this question?
So I think I'll take a very historian's point of view on it. So when we study history, we have to understand कि history जो है वो strands में divided है. तो जब जो first strand of history on Indian independence आई, it was the strand called the imperialist strand, which was talking about the civilizing mission, justifying the British rule. So उसके response में आई एक Indian nationalist strand of history, which sort of say glorified that one unified movement, which we all know now it was not, and it tried to create a certain narrative, which was in response to that narrative, which was completely negating our national movement. So the problem is that what we study in our textbooks mostly is that one strand of history, which is that Indian nationalist strand. उसके बाद बहुत सारे strands आए हैं. There is the subaltern strand, which is talking about the common people, and that to an extent is now being addressed by the bigger, like say CBSE starting to address it or NCRT starting to address it, but फिर भी like the state boards are yet to address those questions, right? So I think the problem lies in the fact that we think that history is in a line, whereas history is in clusters. So that's my take on it.
I would
Yeah,
like to
that's
add one more thing here.
yes,
The
Shilpa.
idea of the whole movement को डिस्कस cartoons में लेकर जाते हैं, it should not be taken as an alien concept, जिसमें हम बताएं कि पास में ऐसा हुआ, एक लीडर आए और ये 4 लीडर आए या कुछ लीडर्स आए जिन्होंने पूरी कंट्री में एक स्ट्रगल शुरू करा. इट शुड नॉट बी टॉट दिस वे. इम्पॉर्टेंट क्या है कि स्टूडेंट्स को फील हो कि इवन इफ टुडे वी फील कि कंट्री में करप्शन है या कंट्री में कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है, कोई भी पॉलिटिकल इशू है, सो हमारे को किसी लीडर का वेट नहीं करना है. हमारे को किसी बिग इवेंट का वेट नहीं करना है, वी एज इंडिविजुअल्स, एज द ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल, एज कॉमन पीपल, हम बहुत बड़ा चेंज लाने के लिए वी आर एब्सोल्युटली केपेबल. So that should be the idea while taking up the Indian national movement. So it is not at all an alien concept when it is taken up in the classroom. It should be very much related to the present scenario.
राइट राइट राइटली सेड. श्रुति मैम ने भी जैसे बोला कि अब आना शुरू हुआ है, सो दैट्स वन स्टेप टुवर्ड्स पॉजिटिवनेस, दैट यू नो दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल द एलिमेंट्स. सो माई एज अ सिटीजन वी आर ग्रेटफुल कि दैट वी हैव सो मेनी राइट्स, और इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट बहुत सारे लॉज और राइट्स के बारे में है. सो अगर हम इसको क्लास में लेकर जाना चाहें, how do we teach, how do we inculcate the whole understanding of rights to students of younger classes? कोई प्राइमरी सेक्शन है तो हम कैसे उनको इस इन लॉज और राइट्स के बारे में बता सकते हैं, पढ़ा सकते हैं? शिल्पा मैम, आई वुड लाइक टू स्टार्ट विद यू.
I think this particular issue, which is talking about the rights, linking it with the British era and linking it with the present era as well. It's not necessary that we take this up as an issue which should be taken up only by the social science teachers or the history teachers. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम जब national movement पढ़ाए हम उसी टाइम पे बच्चों को rights के बारे में पढ़ाए. It can be taken up by any student, it can be taken up by any teacher, any subject teacher, and I feel the entire environment of the school, entire classroom environment should be absolutely democratic. When we talk about rights, it should be the way of life. स्टूडेंट्स को ये फील ही नहीं होना चाहिए कि हमारे पास राइट्स ना होने जैसा भी कोई स्कोप है. वी ऑल आर बॉर्न एज फ्री पीपल एंड देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ not having that right. So how do we do that? As an English teacher, as a mathematics teacher, by creating a democratic classroom. We have to provide them a democratic classroom wherein the children have the right to speak. कुछ गलत होता है तो उनके पास ये राइट होना चाहिए कि ये गलत है. उनके पास अपने फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच, इक्वालिटी, ये सारी चीज़ों को डिस्कस करने के लिए एक ओपन प्लेटफॉर्म होना चाहिए. So if all these things are going to come up in the classroom and this democratic environment is created in the classroom, or let's say in the whole school, definitely the children are going to take this up further. And finally, we have to create global leaders. We have to create citizens who are well aware, who are very smart in all respect, and they should be able to stand for their rights. So ये सारी चीज़ें तब होंगी जब हम उन्हें राइट्स को उनकी वे ऑफ लाइफ का पार्ट बनाएंगे. It should be made a part of their life altogether.
राइट, थैंक यू शिल्पा मैम. प्रियदर्शनी मैम, आपके हिसाब से क्या ऐसे तरीके हैं, क्या कोई एक्टिविटीज हो सकती हैं जिसके थ्रू हम प्राइमरी बच्चों को ये राइट सिखा सकते हैं?
Definitely.
Do you have some examples
Definitely.
that you want to share? Yeah.
Simple, because we are thinking of primary students here, I would start with the basic idea of human rights. Now, of course, human rights internationally came into form in 1948 with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from the United Nations. And if we have to connect it to India, we got independence in 47. So practically speaking, India has fought for its rights, fought for elements of human rights even before human rights was, as such established internationally. Of course, human rights existed since forever, right? I mean, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the right to live, the right to work, the right to education. These are all rights of a common man. And nobody can take it away from us. So if we create a scenario in a class where we start taking away one right after the other from a child, we create a list of human rights, we give it to them first, and then we start taking things back from them. And it will need a lot of patience from the students and the teacher to see how they start feeling. So the teacher has to understand how students are feeling when it's being taken away. Those kind of scenarios can be created for each and every right. तो जब हर एक बच्चे से उनके एक-एक राइट्स छीने जाते हैं, तो उनको कैसा फ़ील होता है? फिर उनसे पूछे जाते हैं कि कैसा लग रहा है आपको? आपके साथ ये गलत होगा लेकिन आप बोल नहीं पाएँगे। अगर आपने ऐसा कुछ किया तो आपको जेल में डाल दिया जाएगा और आप देयर वोंट बी एनी फेयर ट्रायल। How would you feel? So you start making them feel how Indians were feeling under the British rule. And then you bring them to the context of Indian colonialism, and how Indians fought for their rights, how they fought against British imperialism, and they stood up for their rights. Not just leaders again, the common people. Even before these leaders emerged, our peasants in the countryside, they stood up for their rights. So that's where you can create that curiosity, and that would be the right way of creating that spirit of knowing more. So an inquiry-based approach will definitely work well, be it primary or secondary, and let students uncover the feeling of nationalism in a classroom setting.
थैंक यू प्रियदर्शनी मैम। श्रुति मैम, आपके पास कोई आइडियाज़ हैं जो टीचर्स क्लास में यूज़ कर सकती हैं द राइट्स और लॉज के बारे में पढ़ाने के लिए?
आई थिंक टू मी सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि objectivity. The way you're teaching a student, you are supposed to be a facilitator. You're not supposed to be a preacher. So when teachers take on the role of being preachers, that's very problematic. You have to give in perspectives. जैसे कि आप किसी को एक प्राइमरी डॉक्यूमेंट दें, एक स्टोरी पकड़ाएं और कहें कि आपकी इस पे क्या क्या इंटरप्रिटेशन, and your interpretation is your interpretation. So you have to give students that space of children cannot be viewed as empty vessels which can be filled in with information. They're always, it has to be as Shilpa also said, as Priyadarshini also said, it has to be a democratic space. It has to be a space where both people are equals. And जब हम बचपन से हमें सिखाया जाता है कि when you're if you cannot question your parents, you cannot question your teachers, so that fear is attached with questioning, whereas it should be the opposite. You should be encouraged to question as much as you can. You should question every single thing, and that's where ask why, पूछिए क्यों ऐसा होता है, और ये हमें inculcate करना होगा at a very very young age. Not just of course schools, but even with parents we have to inculcate that. And of course, when we take in examples of the freedom struggle or just any rights based movements, the more we give students the examples of, see, these are all complex movements but they can be simplified. That's the beauty of teaching. So if we use storytelling formats to tell these stories, there can be many ways in which we can do it, but we need to start changing our perspective towards it before we change the way of sharing knowledge.
Exactly. There are so many ways. The beauty of teaching is you can simplify, you can make it according to the understanding level of the class. जिस क्लास को पढ़ा रहे हो उसका अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेवल क्या है। तो क्योंकि हम पढ़ाने की बात कर रहे हैं और हम हैं एक पैंडेमिक के बीच में, वी आर स्टक अमिड्स अ पैंडेमिक, द होल वर्ल्ड इज गोइंग ऑनलाइन, पूरी दुनिया अब ऑनलाइन काम करती है। इवन टीचर्स दे हैव गॉन फ्रॉम ऑफलाइन टीचिंग टू ऑनलाइन टीचिंग, जो कि एक काफ़ी बड़ा शिफ्ट है। तो पिछले क्वेश्चन से ही रिलेटेड कुछ आइडियाज़ वर्चुअल टीचिंग के लिए जो टीचर्स यूज़ कर सकते हैं इंडियन इंडिपेंडेंस को पढ़ाने के लिए, इस मूवमेंट को पढ़ाने के लिए, क्योंकि एवरीथिंग इज़ ऑनलाइन। So virtually, what are some ways, ideas that any of you have that you would like to share it with our teachers who can use this in their classroom? Shilpa ma'am, I can start with you. Ma'am, can you unmute? You are on mute.
So I think this is the pandemic time, and children are at home. They're spending more time with their families, and if we take up an activity which may include other family members as well, that would be great, and they can spend time with them as well and learn out of it. When we talk about Indian national movement, we generally, as we discussed earlier, we generally focus on the big leaders and the big events. In that context, if we start focusing also on the oral sources, that is, when we discuss, when we get to know from our grandparents, जैसे बच्ची घर पे है और वो अपने दादा से कुछ और उनके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स से, तो दादी हैं, नाना है, नानी है, कोई भी ग्रैंड पेरेंट जिनके पास कोई लाइव एग्जाम्पल हो, उनकी खुद की स्टोरीज हो या उनके पेरेंट्स की कोई स्टोरी हो उस टाइम की, आई एम श्योर दैट कैन add a lot of value to their activity also. तो उनसे उससे दो चीज़ें होंगी, एक तो वो अपनी दादा दादी के थोड़े करीब जाएंगे, उनको पता चलेगा उनका समय कैसा था, कैसे जनरेशन जो है वो चेंज हो जाती हैं ओवर द टाइम, कितना स्ट्रगल उन्होंने फेस किया होगा उस टाइम पे। और दूसरा, ये एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन है हिस्ट्री में। टुडे वी टॉक अबाउट ओरल सोर्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ऑल्सो, ताकि हम लोगों से जुड़ पाएँ। History should not be the story of the big people only, it should be the story of the common people also. तो इस तरीके की जब वो स्टोरीज वो लेकर आएंगे, कहीं से सर्च करके आएंगे, या नेबरहुड से और फैमिली फ्रेंड्स और समवेयर, इफ दे आर कलेक्टिंग दो स्टोरीज, they should be encouraged to share it with the entire class. So kind of a storytelling session can be conducted. This can be one option. And otherwise, linking the Indian national movement to the present, we can also ask children to think of a revolution which may be needed in the 21st century. Right? So they can think of a change, big change, which is needed today, that can be against corruption, that can be related to the political leaders, that can be related to an economic problem. So वो issue को वो कैसे लेकर आते हैं, वो अपनी families के साथ they can prepare a kind of a skit or something like that and present it. That can be a part of the virtual activity as well.
Priyadarshini ma'am, what do you think? आपके हिसाब से कुछ ideas that you want to share?
I will be very honest. For me also, since March, teaching has become different, but not different. Okay, because yes, we have gone virtual, and teaching and learning is happening online. But the basics of pedagogy hasn't really changed for me. So it still remains an inquiry-based approach. There's a lot of onus on the students. They are independent, self-directed learners. So there will be a focus on research, and a comparative study with other countries that have also fought for independence is a very good idea. Looking at the similarities and differences, because that's a skill, and you make it a very skill based, whether it's a task or you do it in class as an activity. So I teach in IB, International Baccalaureate, and we have a topic on independence movement where we teach about India and Zimbabwe and Cuba and many other countries. I mean, teachers can pick their own topics and students can pick their own topics, and it amazes students to see that very different kind of factors caused nationalism in, let's say, Zimbabwe or in Cuba. But there are so many strands and elements that are still very similar. So even for students of grade 9, grade 8 as well, you can do a comparative study, which opens up their vision that it was not just India that rose up against British imperialism and fought for its independence. There are so many other countries. The stories of resilience of people, that is so important. Another fun activity that I can think of, it's called a hot seat activity. So you assign roles to your students, right? And not just Gandhiji and Netaji. You have a variety of roles. You bring in somebody who's a farmer. You bring in somebody who is maybe a woman leader, maybe Aruna Asaf Ali. So you assign roles. And whenever one student comes into the hot seat, and online it will be during a virtual lesson, the student will play the role of that character and others will have to ask questions to the person who is in the hot seat. So you are not only preparing for the character that you have been assigned, you're also preparing questions for other characters to whom you will be asking questions at a later point. So then it becomes it's a vivacious class. I've done this in my lessons and it turns out to be amazing because students can ask questions. They can imagine that this character from the past is literally sitting in front of us. And of course, students have to be very careful that they don't misinterpret what they have read. They don't superimpose their own ideas on a leader that they are representing. So they have to be a little careful about that. But a hot seat activity is very engaging. So that would be my tip.
That's a great activity, Priyadarshini ma'am. Especially the point that you mentioned, interpretation is very important. There should not be because it can also cause a lot of negativity in the classroom. So I would also like to ask Shruti ma'am if they want to, if she wants to add something to this question.
I think both Shilpa and Priyadarshini have just like answered it so well. I love the. I would want to do that hot seat activity myself, but so I feel like now that like the virtual now we have the virtual platform. What it does is that it increases the landscape of sources you can access, research you can do beyond the classroom, right? So I feel like it's time to take advantage of that and like also feel like there has to be a shift towards skill development in terms of building the skill to analyze primary sources, building the skill to analyze primary archives. And there are many archives which are already online. So if teachers can start sharing those archives with students, teaching them how to analyze archival sources and center activities around that, I think that would be interesting to see as to what interpretations students come up with, while at the same time, with as Priyadarshini was saying that with the caveat that they interpret it in a way that they're not superimposing their views. So doing that can come with skill, developing that skill as a regular on a regular basis with students. So I think I love that idea. And also the whole idea of people's histories, Joe, Shilpa line, the idea of oral histories, talking to your grandparents, and I think that can be an excellent activity for students.
Yes, thank you so much for the input. Teachers need so many activities for virtual teaching. But now again, when we are teaching history, तो कुछ एसेंशियल कुछ ज़रूरी एलिमेंट्स हैं जो एज ए टीचर हमें ध्यान रखनी चाहिए पढ़ाते समय. डू यू थिंक देर आर की एसेंशियल्स दैट टीचर्स नीड टू वर्क ऑन while taking the student through our past and the journey they are on? Shilpa ma'am, I would like to start with you.
Can you come up with the question again? I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So my question was, ऐसी कोई ज़रूरी elements है? There are a lot of things, elements that a teacher needs to work upon. That a teacher needs to उन्हें ध्यान रखना चाहिए पढ़ाते समय. कुछ ऐसे elements, especially past history पढ़ाते समय. तो आपका क्या ख्याल है इसमें?
I think I always feel that, as I mentioned earlier also, history should not be taught as the story of the past only. It is not a story of the dead people. It is very much connected with the present. It is very much connected with the future. The moment we enter as a social science teacher, the moment we enter as a history teacher, we have to be very cautious while talking about any event related to the past and ensuring that the children learn out of those experiences and take it forward. For example, as we are today talking about the British era, we are talking about the Indian national movement. While taking up all these things, we have to ensure that the children learn something out of it. They have to realize that today we are a democratic country, today we are a secular country. We have so many people coming from all the religion and the language groups. We have to respect all of that. Why? Because the British era was the time when it was not respected. If we do not learn from the British era, we will not be able to create a better future. We will not be able to create a better present as well, right? So whenever we are teaching history, whenever we are talking about past, it's important to link it very much with the present. And those learnings from the experiences of the past should be taken forward. I'll take another example. Let's say while talking about Nazism, when we talk about Hitler, if we don't know about those stories, how will we be able to gain those experiences and ensuring that it doesn't happen again? Those challenges which the people faced, the people were fighting in the name of religion, the people were fighting in the name of their race. So all those stories have to be taken up, and we have to ensure that we sensitize the children so that when they are becoming the global leaders, when they become the citizens tomorrow, then they are coming up
as a and as an individual, they have to put this forward in the society also. We have to create a community which is full of love, which is full of respect, which is full of compassion. So all these values have to be taken up. That's how I feel.
Right. Like you said, you mentioned that the term that past present से जुड़ा है, future से जुड़ा है. तो
Absolutely.
जब भी हम past की बात करते हैं तो in school we always should always make sure कि students को पता होना चाहिए कि वो history क्यों पढ़ रहे हैं, क्यों जानना ज़रूरी है कि 100 साल पहले ऐसे क्या हुआ था. So, in our opinion, does the past have any reflection on the present or future? And has it shaped the foundation of our country? Priyadarshini ma'am, I would like to start with you on this question.
I mean, yes, definitely. I mean, our past definitely has a big role to play in our present, um, in the sense that, we need to understand where we are today. And in order to be able to do that, we have to analyze what happened. I mean, if I really have to understand why our economy is in the shape that it is, we will have to go back and analyze where we were 10 years ago, let's say. And in the same manner, if we have to understand our culture, our heritage, the overall context of a nation state, a region, then history is absolutely essential. We cannot do without history. Um, there's a question in the chat box also, that how do we make students more patriotic, or how do we make children like social studies. I think the key is you tell them the why of studying this, right? And therefore, learning has to move from factual knowledge to conceptual understanding. And therefore, in my history lessons, I would always have key concepts around which your lesson revolves, which means that the concept remains the same no matter you're talking about the past, present, or future. A concept such as power, right? I might bring up the power of the British in India. I might bring up the power of the people in the freedom struggle. So the idea of power changes in each context. And if I take away the Indian freedom struggle, the concept of power still remains there. And it's applicable to any kind of incident. It could be something related to global politics in today's times, and therefore students will start to find meaning in what they are studying. They will see the relevance of what they are studying, so that the moment they see the applicability of these concepts across disciplines, which is not restricted to history or geography. I mean, they can look at the concept of power in nature, in biology, in physics, right? The shape or form will vary, but it is the concept that will drive their learning, and that's where we can make the connections between our past, our present, and our future. It is all going to be interconnected, if I may say so.
Shruti ma'am, what do you think about this question?
I completely agree with the fact that past is very, very like relevant to the present and vice versa actually. But I will take an example. I'll take a few examples. So, which is relating to relating to colonization as to how we see the impact. And I'm not taking the partition example because we all know that example. Uh, I think in 1881 we had the first census of India, and that was conducted by the British. So what happened then is that the building blocks of the census became caste, religion, and our hereditary occupations, right? So uske pehle we were a little more fluid. We didn't know, we weren't in those watertight compartments. Uh, these identities were there, but they were more social and they were more cultural. So, but what happened when the first census happened under the British rule, is that these identities for the first time, got politicized, and for the first time, they became more than social, cultural, fluid identities. And do we see the impact now? Of course we do. And it kept building, right? 1905 partition happens in Bengal, then the main, like a 1947 partition happens. So it's where it started, and that's how it kept evolving, and we see it even now. So the second thing is if you see, we now talk about transnational networks, like, oh, there's a whole global women's movement, but we also need to recognize that um, while there were many disadvantages to the British rule, and we can villainize it and vilify it and say whatever we want to, but what it was also giving was a transnational network. Especially, for example, we think that women in India never fought for the vote, but that's untrue. Women in India actually had to fight for the vote, and it was a collaboration between the British women and the Indian women. And in fact, Indian women were also fighting for the vote on a national platform. If we take an example of Hansa Mehta, for like, she was in the Constituent Assembly. We don't know much about the women leaders, but Hansa Mehta was one. And so while the UN Declaration of Human Rights stated that it first stated that all men have to be equal. And she was quick to point out to say that if you say all men have to be equal in a human rights document, what happens to the women? So she was the one who added all human beings have to be equal. So we don't know these stories, and these stories are so relevant to now. So we need to bring out these stories to and connect it to our present and to these global ideas of citizenship, and also our own national ideas of citizenship. So it's very relevant. There is no doubt to that.
Exactly, Shruti ma'am. There are so many things which are left unsaid. There are so many people who we not know of. So हमें कोशिश करते रहना चाहिए कि through time as the society is evolving, हमारा जो syllabus है वो भी evolve हो थोड़ा. Even if it's not there, we should try to bring in as many elements, external elements, important, equally important elements to our classroom while teaching. तो when we हम हिस्ट्री के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हिस्ट्री. So when what are, according to you all, if we talk about Indian independence, what do you consider as key revolting points of the independence movement according to you all? We will start with Shilpa ma'am for this question.
I think Indian national movement is all full of learning. Whichever thing you take up, it's always relevant. It very much today as well. When we talk about the ideals which were emphasized by Gandhiji, he talked about truth, he talked about non-violence, he talked about, having compassion for the fellow beings. Throughout the entire journey, the common people learned, what is the significance of. Throughout, the people learned that it is very important to speak. Mass participation is significant, popular participation is significant. One person cannot bring a revolution, so it's important to hold hands together. We don't have to wait for the big leaders and big people. At the same time, it's very important. At that moment, we were talking about India, but we have moved far ahead. We have crossed almost 7 decades. And now we have to realize that we don't have to talk only about India. We have to talk about the global leaders always. We have to ensure that the children are learning those values and taking up forward to the entire world. Today also we get to hear this war, we get to hear the people are fighting, and there is struggle going on for the resources at the world level. A lot of things are happening. It's very important that we all become extremely loving for humanity. And I personally feel that history is one subject which can actually put that that emotion into you. You have to, being a teacher, I think all of us have this onus, we all have this big responsibility that we take this idea to the classroom. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है कि हम जब कोई भी कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ा रहे हैं हम स्कूल्स में, या कोई भी चीज हम बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे हैं, वो उस इवेंट और एक फैक्ट की तरह उन्हें बताया जाए उस चीज को. सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है कि हम उस फैक्ट को, उसकी सिग्निफिकेंस को बच्चों तक पहुंचाएं. बहुत जरूरी है कि हम बच्चों को ये बताएं कि हम उन इवेंट से सीख कर हम कल को जब हम एक इंडिविजुअल बनते हैं, एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के साथ हम सिटीजन बनते हैं, सो उसकी क्या इंपॉर्टेंस होती है कम्युनिटी में और सोसाइटी में। सेकेंडली आई वांट टू आल्सो मेंशन कि हम एक ग्लोबल वर्ल्ड में रहते हैं जहाँ पे एवरीबडी इज नाउ कनेक्टेड, बट वी हैव टू इंश्योर दैट वी ऑल आर कनेक्टेड टू द रूट्स। आई ऑलवेज फील कि कितनी बार हम अपने ही कंट्री में कितने नुक्स निकालते हैं, हम बोलते हैं कि हमारी कंट्री में ये गलत है और वो गलत है, एंड दूसरी की कंट्री इतनी सुंदर और इतनी अच्छी है। सो कहीं ना कहीं उस चीज को अच्छा बनाने के लिए नो एलियन इज गोइंग टू कम, कोई और कंट्री का कोई और लीडर तो हमारी कंट्री में आएगा नहीं उस चीज को बेहतर बनाने के लिए। तो हम सभी को अपनी तरफ से एफर्ट डालना है और वो सारी चीजों को हमको कैरी फॉरवर्ड करना है। सो आई थिंक the moment we all feel sensitized, the moment as teachers, as individuals, as students, as you know, be it any profession, I think that is the biggest learning I feel, which is there from the Indian national movement and from this entire subject as well. That is how I feel about this.
Priyadarshini ma'am, what do you feel about this question? Some revolving points of our independence movement.
Right. So, when you say revolving points, I understand it as, recurring themes in our freedom struggle throughout that entire period. And I would say mass movement is something that is very symbolic of our freedom struggle. And honestly speaking, most independence movements have come from the masses. So that is a very common feature. We see that in the non-cooperation movement, in the civil disobedience movement, in the Quit India movement, or even when Netaji wanted to bring in, when he gathered men to form his Indian National Army, he got Indians in Singapore to create his own army. So mass movement is a recurring theme. The other, it's a strategy that historian Bipan Chandra often talks about with respect to Gandhi. Truce, struggle, truce. That was a strategy that was adopted by Gandhiji very often, which means, you struggle for a period. You show them your anger, your distress, you protest, and then you again go into a period of truce and you negotiate, because it wasn't going to be easy. Independence was not going to come to us in a day. So he said that, our struggle is going to be very long. So we need periods of truce as well. And a lot of constitutional reforms happened because of this constant, back and forth negotiations that happened between the freedom fighters, the nationalist leaders, and the British. And we see that even today. Whenever there is a social justice issue, there are protests, be that violent or non-violent. But at the end of the day, we also need intellectuals to come forward with solutions and negotiate and get their rights. So that is another recurring feature that I feel was very present in the Indian freedom struggle. The other thing that comes to my mind is that this whole freedom struggle was largely non-violent. There were, of course, streaks of violence. And, I often make this very clear with my students. They don't understand why this method of non-violence. Did this even work? Gandhiji had to wait for so long. Indians had to wait for so long. And the basic logic was that Indians did not have the bandwidth to be violent against an imperial power that could use violence to any extreme. So the only thing that Indians had was using non-violence. In fact, there was this American journalist who was accompanying Gandhi during the Salt March. And, he reported that I haven't seen anything like this. People being beaten up, protesters, peaceful protesters being beaten up so badly, and yet, the perseverance, the resilience that they have shown. And the whole idea of nonviolence was such that even leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. in the US was heavily inspired by Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, which stands on the two pillars of truth and non-violence. And MLK Jr. adopted that policy and implemented that during the civil rights movement in the US. So again, non-violent movement was, a recurring feature. I will not discredit the role of, freedom fighters who have used violence because they had their justification at that point. They felt that was the best way to show the world that this was injustice. But again, the nonviolent movements did, gain a lot of international attention. In fact, when we talk about the Salt March, it gained tremendous international attention because of the brutality that the protesters, received from the huge state apparatus at that point. So these would be my, key themes, recurring themes in the Indian freedom struggle: nonviolent movement, mass movement, and the idea of truce, struggle, truce.
Thank you so much, Priyadarshini ma'am. I would like to also take some questions from the audience. हमारे व्यूअर्स के काफ़ी क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं। शिल्पा मैम, आपके लिए एक क्वेश्चन आया है श्वेता मैम का कि प्लीज टेल अबाउट महलबारी, रियोतवारी एंड परमानेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफ बंगाल। आई वांट दिस आंसर फ्रॉम शिल्पा मैम। So if you can, in short, quickly brief Shweta ma'am about this.
Okay. I don't want to deviate from the discussion we are having today. So this is going to be a kind of deviation. So I'll just quickly take this up. Mehlwari system, permanent settlement or Rayotwari settlement were basically the revenue settlement which were created by the British people. हमारी कंट्री में जो रेवेन्यू था वो मेजरली एग्रीकल्चर से आता था। हमारी कंट्री में बहुत प्रोडक्शन था, स्पेशली इन द नॉर्दर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया। सो ब्रिटिशर्स जो थे वो ज्यादा से ज्यादा रेवेन्यू जो है वो इंडियन से गेन करना चाहते थे। वो चाहते थे कि हमारा प्रॉफिट जो है वो बढ़ता जाए, नो मैटर कि हमारे जो किसान लोग हैं, हमारे जो पुअर फार्मर्स थे, वो कितना स्ट्रगल करे और कितनी प्रॉब्लम फेस करते हैं, उनको उस चीज से ज्यादा मतलब नहीं था। सो इस तरीके से उन्होंने ये 3 सेटलमेंट्स तैयार करे थे। परमानेंट सेटलमेंट में था कि उन्होंने बोला कि ये फिक्स्ड अमाउंट है, हमारे को यही अमाउंट है जो हमेशा चाहिए, नो मैटर कि क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आप फेस कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं। उसी तरीके से रियातवारी सेटलमेंट जो था वो किसानों के साथ डायरेक्टली बनाया गया। उसके बाद महलवारी सेटलमेंट जो है वो एक डील था, एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था। महल मतलब विलेज, पूरे गांव के साथ, कि पूरे गांव से जो वहां का जो लैंडलॉर्ड है, वो जो वहां का जो हेड है, वो हमारे को इतना जो रेवेन्यू है वो दे देगा। सो बेसिकली दिस इज वन ऑफ द स्टोरीज विच कैन बी रिलेटेड टू द ब्रिटिश एरा, कि किस तरीके से हमारे जो ब्रिटिशर्स थे हमारी कंट्री से कैसे रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करते थे, कैसे हमारे किसान जो थे किस परिस्थितियों में आकर भी वो उनको जरूरी होता था कि वो जो लगान है वो उनको देना जरूरी होता था। So this is all about this settlement.
Thank you so much, ma'am. एक और क्वेश्चन मैं लेना चाहूंगी। इट्स जस्ट अ स्टेटमेंट बाय कल्पना मैम दैट वी शुड मेक स्टूडेंट्स सेंसिटिव टू। सो क्या आप कुछ तरीके बता सकते हैं? कैन एनी वन ऑफ यू टेल मी सम वेज ऑन हाउ वी कैन मेक स्टूडेंट्स सेंसिटिव अबाउट दिस टॉपिक? Yeah, Shilpa ma'am, go ahead.
I feel the moment the teachers feel strongly about the movement, the moment the teacher takes this up emotionally also in the classroom, not just as the fact, it is going to be delivered very, very easily to the children. जब मैं हिस्ट्री टीचर की तरह क्लास में एंटर करती हूँ और मैं सिर्फ फैक्ट्स के बारे में बच्चों को बताती हूँ कि ये मूवमेंट हुआ, और मैं क्वेश्चन आंसर की तरह उनको बताती हूँ कि ये मूवमेंट हुआ, इस समय पे हुआ, और ऐसे दूसरा मूवमेंट आया, और इस तरीके से मैं उनको क्लासरूम में बताती हूँ, तो समवेयर द सेंसिटिविटी इज नॉट गोइंग टू कम। बहुत जरूरी है कि ऐसे सेंसिटिव इशू को हम खुद भी फील करें, उस चीज को हम महसूस करें कि क्या रेलेवेंस है आज के दौर में उन मूवमेंट्स की, और फिर हम क्लासरूम में उसे लेकर जाएं कहानी की तरह, सिर्फ फैक्ट्स की तरह नहीं बल्कि कहानी की तरह, ताकि बच्चे उस चीज को रिलेट कर पाए। उसके बाद उन्हीं चीजों को हम चाहें कि बच्चे जो है अपने एक्सपीरियंस को भी शेयर करें और उसे रिलेट करें कि कैसे इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट जो है उनका जो सैक्रिफाइस है, हम उसे कैसे फ्रूटफुल बना सकते हैं 21st सेंचुरी में। ऐसा ना हो कि उनके सैक्रिफाइसेस वेस्ट चले जाए। सो वी कैन आस्क देम, टुडे वी ऑल आर फ्री, टुडे वी ऑल आर independent, so how can we ensure that this country grows over the period of time and that sacrifice doesn't vanish? So that is how we can sensitize the children. So सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है कि टीचर सबसे पहले फील करे उस चीज को, सेंसिटिव खुद हो, ताकि वो अपने आप ही कम्युनिकेट हो जाए स्टूडेंट्स के पास।
थैंक यू सो मच शिल्पा मैम फॉर आंसरिंग दिस क्वेश्चन। तो एक और सवाल मैं पूछना चाहूँगी कि जब हम फ्रीडम फाइटर्स की बात करते हैं या फादर ऑफ द नेशन की बात करते हैं, तो दे आर ऑलवेज रिलेटेड टू सम वैल्यूज, कुछ ना कुछ वैल्यूज जुड़ी होती हैं। व्हाट डू यू थिंक आर सम वैल्यूज अ टीचर कैन टॉक अबाउट इन द क्लासरूम? ऐसे कुछ गुण जिनके बारे में टीचर्स क्लास में बता सकें और इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकें। तो आपके क्या ख्याल हैं इस क्वेश्चन में? श्रुति मैम, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू फर्स्ट अबाउट दिस।
Okay. I am so because we spoke about the father of the nation, because and Priyadarshini brought very important points on mass movements and on just non-violence. So I think the first thing that I would draw from someone like Gandhi ji is his pragmatism. जैसे उन्होंने इस मूवमेंट को envision किया, two things stood out to me, and Priyadarshini also pointed this out: the fact that he understood that India did not have we did not have the bandwidth to take on the British violently, or just that if you want to protest, you cannot take on the state violently because the state will always have more power than you in terms of control over violent, like policing or just punishment, those violent means. So, in that sense, taking that non-violent stand was a very, very pragmatic and a very, very it was a very smart decision to make. And as she also spoke, Martin Luther King took ideas from it. There are a lot of books on it now. Now, non-violent action has become this whole new like scholarship of research कि कैसे non-violent action हम use कर सकते हैं to protest or to just to like put our point across. एक तो वो हो गया. The second is the whole mass movement thing. There was at this point एक point आ रहा था जब Congress at that point was becoming very separated from the masses. So what Gandhi ji does, and I would also credit this to the Swadeshi movement that came in 1905 after the partition of Bengal. ये जो अरविंदो घोष और हमारे लाल बाल पाल who we call, उन्होंने जो शुरू किया, they brought the movement to the streets. And then Gandhi ji comes and he takes over and he makes it a mass movement. And how he makes it a mass movement is not by saying there are these white people who are torturing us and we should, of course not, like on an everyday basis a normal peasant is not interacting with a white person or a white ruler on every single basis, but so he picks up issues. He picks up namak, जो सबसे important और सबके घर की सबसे important issue होती है नमक, और he picks that up and he creates mass appeal about it, and that's how he goes to the masses. So this whole combination of Swadeshi with Swadeshi bringing in street agitations, bringing people to the streets, and Gandhiji's mass movement combined with non-violence is, I think, something that I think India can just patent it for one, because we've done it so well. And the fact that we don't teach our students about the importance of peaceful protest or just questioning or just ways to peacefully protest is just it's a loss to the students. And I think I think it's a, like for me, more than virtues, so to say, like sensitivity, like resilience, bravery, ये सब तो है ही, but I think this is the most important aspect for me. And I also want to highlight one more thing is that we also need to start talking about injustices in terms of just say, we of course should talk about the movement, but there are also things we have to learn from something like the Great Indian Famine, the Great Bengal Famine, जो 44 में हुआ था. It killed about 3.8 million people. So it's very much a holocaust in that sense. And like that's what we call it. It's the Indian Holocaust. There were like deliberate policies to for that famine to happen. तो मतलब Our history should also be about studying these injustices, especially because on an international platform, people don't know about it. And so I feel like these things also, the fact that there were injustices is also something students have to be taught. So these two are very important aspects for me.
Priyadarshini, do you have some, do you want to talk about certain values, virtues, जो class में as a teacher we can teach to our students and implement also?
You asking me?
Priyadarshini ma'am, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Um, yeah, I mean, if I want to connect this to the Indian national movement, our leaders, because, that's what we are talking about today. Something that I want to bring up is, about Gandhiji. And we know him as a political leader, as the one that fought for independence, but he was also an environmentalist, and his ideas of environmental ethics is lesser known, actually. In those times, he was against industrialization, he was against urbanization, and I understand that we have moved past that stage quite a bit. India is industrialized, we do have pollution, we do have urbanization, and we see the problems as well. But the lesson that can be learned from Gandhiji's ideas of environmentalism is the idea of sustainability, because he talked about the balance between the urban and the rural. He was worried about the rural population, that what if urbanization happens and our villagers will never be able to cope with that. He said, why have mass production when you can have the masses involved in production? So he was still very concerned about our rural population, because even today, majority of our population reside in villages. So when we think about the environment also, there's something to take away from Gandhiji's ideas of environmental ethics, bringing in sustainability, something that our current generation really needs to focus on. I mean, sustainable development growth is something that we cannot ignore at this point. The other thing, is about social equality, and Gandhiji was a huge proponent of social equality. He actively worked for the Harijans, the lower caste group in our societies, and he brought it to everybody's attention that why this discrimination, why untouchability, and despite our constitution banning untouchability, we know that there are various kinds of discrimination that exist even today, be that against the LGBTQ community, be that against women, be that against lower classes, lower caste. We have that discrimination, and again, if we have to bring in Gandhian ideas, Gandhi's ideas become it becomes like it becomes like the lamp in the dark. You take it along with you throughout your life, in your journey of life. And especially, we are so proud to call him the father of our nation, because he has given us those ideals that we can hold very close to our hearts, and those are true to our identity as Indians. So those are some of the virtues from the Gandhian era that I would incorporate in my class, in my there's a question in the chat box, how do we make the chapter on nationalism interesting? This is how we do it. We make that connection with present day. Gandhian principles are not redundant. They are very much applicable in today's times as well, right? Yeah, that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for also answering the question. I was just taking that the next one. सो ये थे कुछ सवाल गुरुशाला की तरफ से और हमारे टीचर्स की तरफ से. वी हैव कम टू द आवर वेबिनार इज अबाउट टू एंड. आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक, मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी हमारे पैनलिस्ट्स को, जिन्होंने बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग और इंफॉर्मेटिव आइडियाज़ शेयर करे हैं about Indian independence, their opinions about history, the independence movement, teaching. So thank you so much once more for joining Shilpa ma'am, Priyadarshini ma'am, and Shruti ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us here today.
Yeah.
सो जाने से पहले मैं हमारे साथियों को बताना चाहूँगी कि गुरुशाला ने इंडिपेंडेंस डे से रिलेटेड आप सभी के लिए एक कंपटीशन भी होस्ट किया है, जिसपे टीचर्स को सोसाइटी की एक प्रॉब्लम ढूंढनी है। उनके हिसाब से कौन सा एक चैलेंज है जो वो सोसाइटी में देखते हैं, और वो चैलेंज अपने स्टूडेंट्स को वो कैसे समझाते हैं। बहुत ही दिलचस्प कंपटीशन है ये, और इसमें केवल 2 स्टेप्स हैं। आपको एक वीडियो बनानी है जिसमें आप वो प्रॉब्लम या चैलेंज अपने स्टूडेंट्स को समझा रहे हैं, कैसे समझा रहे हैं ये बताना है। इस वीडियो को आपने दिए गए फॉर्म में अपलोड करना है। फॉर्म का लिंक आज के सेशन के वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स पर दिया गया है। साथ ही साथ ये फॉर्म कंपटीशन की अनाउंसमेंट व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स पे भी सर्कुलेट हो रही हैं। कंपटीशन 14 अगस्त 14 अगस्त तक वैलिड है, आखिरी दिन है वो कंपटीशन करने का। तो होपफुली सभी टीचर्स इस कंपटीशन में ज़रूर हिस्सा लेंगे। इसके अलावा हम आपको गुरुशाला के कुछ फीचर्स के बारे में भी बताना चाहते हैं। जैसा आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं, मैं आपको गुरुशाला की कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी के बारे में बताना सकती हूँ। सबसे पहले तो हम गुरुशाला पे लॉगिन करने के लिए www.gurushala.co पर जाएंगे। जाके यह होम पेज खुलेगा हमारे स्क्रीन पे। सबसे पहला जो पॉपअप आ रहा है वो इंडिपेंडेंस डे कंपटीशन के बारे में ही बता रहा है। अगर मैं इसको क्लिक करूंगी तो वो मुझे इस कंपटीशन के बारे में और डिटेल देगा। सिमिलरली जब मैं होम पेज पे होती हूँ तो काफ़ी सारे एलिमेंट्स हैं वेबसाइट के जो मैं देख सकती हूँ स्क्रीन पे, कोर्सेज से लेकर स्टाफ रूम, कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी। लेफ्ट साइड पे भी कई एलिमेंट्स हैं, टीचर कम्युनिटीज। तो आज मैं कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी की बात करूंगी। जब हम इस पेज पर जाते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि तरह तरह के बहुत बहुत डाइवर्स, लैंग्वेज पे डिपेंडेंट, टाइप, कंटेंट टाइप पे डिपेंडेंट बहुत सारी एलिमेंट्स आ जाते हैं, बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज आ जाते हैं जो गुरुशाला की टीचर्स अपनी क्लासरूम में इस्तेमाल करती हैं, बच्चों को पढ़ाने के लिए इस्तेमाल करती हैं। स्पेशली ऑनलाइन टीचिंग के लिए ये बहुत काम आता है। जैसे हम देख सकते हैं हमारी स्क्रीन पे कई रिसोर्सेज हैं। रिसोर्सेज भी डिफरेंट टाइप के हैं। जैसे मैं देखूं, अगर मैं लेफ्ट साइड पे देखूं तो वहाँ पे एक फ़िल्टर का बटन है। फ़िल्टर के बटन से मैं देख सकती हूँ कि कौन से सब्जेक्ट के हिसाब से मेरे को अपना रिसोर्स चूज़ करना है। अगर बायोलॉजी का रिसोर्स है तो मैं सिंपली बायोलॉजी पे टिक करूँगी, और जैसे ही टिक करूँगी तो बायोलॉजी से रिलेटेड जो भी कंटेंट है, जो भी रिसोर्सेज हैं मैं अपनी क्लास में यूज़ करना चाहती हूँ, वो सारे आ जाएंगे। सिमिलरली क्लास वाइज रिसोर्सेज हैं, कौन सी कक्षा के हिसाब से मैं अपना कंटेंट चूज़ करना चाहूँ वो भी मैं यहाँ पे टिक कर सकती हूँ। उसके अलावा कंटेंट टाइप से रिलेटेड भी है कि वीडियो के फॉर्म में है, ऑडियो के फॉर्म में है, प्रैक्टिस क्वेश्चंस हैं, क्विज के फॉर्म में है, और वर्कशीट्स के फॉर्म में है। इसी तरह कई तरह के और फिल्टर्स हैं। लैंग्वेज सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट एक और फिल्टर मेरे हिसाब से है, क्योंकि गुरुशाला पे कई तरह के टीचर्स ऑल ओवर इंडिया, देश भर की टीचर्स हैं, तो लैंग्वेज बैरियर एक हो सकता है। उसके लिए लैंग्वेज के हिसाब से भी एक फिल्टर है। आपको जिस लैंग्वेज में कंटेंट पीस चाहिए होगा आप उसके हिसाब से चूज कर सकते हैं। सिमिलरली कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी में 7,000 से ज़्यादा कंटेंट पीसेस हैं जो टीचर्स अपने क्लासरूम में यूज़ कर सकती हैं। तो ये था हमारा गुरुशाला का कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी, उसकी एक छोटी सी झलक। मैं आशा करती हूँ कि आप ज़रूर लॉगिन करिएगा और गुरुशाला कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी का इस्तेमाल करिए। कंपटीशन फॉर्म और कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी का लिंक हमारे डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स पे है इस वीडियो के, फेसबुक वीडियो पे। तो आप ज़रूर क्लिक करिए, लॉगिन करिए और गुरुशाला की कंटेंट लाइब्रेरी को एक्सप्लोर करिए। हम ऐसे और भी वेबिनार्स आपके लिए लाते रहेंगे। हमारे साथ कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर साझा करें कि ऐसा कौन सा विषय है जिस पे आप चाहते हैं कि हम आगे वाले वेबिनार करें, आगे आने वाले वेबिनार करें। हमारी पूरी कोशिश रहेगी आपके पसंदीदा विषयों पर चर्चा करने की। In case you have any more questions you want to ask, you can also visit Gurushala staff room and share your questions with us there. हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हम आपके सवालों को एक्सपर्ट्स तक पहुंचाएं। गुरुशाला से जुड़े रहिए और गुरुशाला के फेसबुक पेज और यूट्यूब चैनल को लाइक, सब्सक्राइब और अपने साथी टीचर्स के साथ शेयर करना ना भूलें। आशा है कि हम मिलते रहें और ऐसे विषयों पर चर्चा बनाते रहें। आप सभी को गुरुशाला की तरफ से सुखद शिक्षण, हैप्पी टीचिंग।